August 1st, 1944. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, SHF, Versailles, France. General Dwight D. Eisenhower stands over a large map table, studying the positions of Allied forces in Normandy. His senior staff surrounds him, British, American, Canadian officers, all analyzing the same problem. How do we break out of Normandy? For 2 months, Allied forces have been grinding through the Norman hedgerows. Progress is measured in yards, not miles. Casualties are mounting. The Germans are defending brilliantly. We need a breakthrough. Eisenhower says something decisive, something that gets us out of this bottleneck and into open country. General Omar Bradley points to the map. Operation Cobra will concentrate our bombers here, blow a hole in the German lines, then push through with armor. How long will it take to exploit the breakthrough? Eisenhower asks if we're lucky. A week to advance 50 miles. Eisenhower nods. It's not fast, but it's progress. Then a British liaison officer enters the room. Sir, I have an urgent message from Third Army. Eisenhower looks up. Third Army, Patton's army, has just been activated. They're supposed to move through the gap created by First Army and exploit the breakthrough. What does Patton want now? Eisenhower asks, already tired. The officer hands him the message. Eisenhower reads it once. Then again, his expression shifts from concentration to disbelief. He can't be serious, sir. Eisenhower reads aloud. Third Army advancing south toward Brittany. Will secure Peninsula within 4 days, then pivoting east toward Paris. Request permission to continue advance as far as fuel supplies allow. Bradley looks shocked. 4 days? The Brittany Peninsula is? That's over 100 miles of contested territory. I know how far it is, Eisenhower says quietly. Sir, that's impossible. No army can move that fast. The logistics alone. Eisenhower holds up a hand. He picks up a phone. Get me Third Army headquarters. I need to speak with General Patton immediately. 2 minutes later, Patton's voice crackles over the line. This is Patton. George, I'm looking at your proposed movement plan. You're planning to advance 100 miles in 4 days. That's correct. Through enemy territory with limited fuel against German resistance. Also correct, George. That's entirely possible, Patton interrupts. Sir, the Germans are in chaos. Their lines are collapsing. If we move fast, we can be in Brittany before they even realize we've broken through. But only if we move now. Eisenhower looks at Bradley, who shakes his head skeptically. George, even if you could move that fast, the supply lines will catch up. Patton says confidently, Sir, we have maybe a 48-hour window where the Germans are disorganized. If we wait for perfect logistics, we lose that window. Give me permission to advance. I'll worry about supplies later. Eisenhower closes his eyes. Every military doctrine says you don't outrun your supply lines. You don't advance faster than your logistics can support. You consolidate, then advance methodically. But Patton has never followed doctrine. All right, George, you have permission to advance, but if you run out of fuel and get stuck, I won't, Patton says. Third Army out. The line goes dead. Bradley looks at Eisenhower. Sir, he's going to overextend. He's going to run out of fuel and leave his army stranded deep in enemy territory. Eisenhower stares at the map. Maybe. Or maybe he'll do something no one thought possible. 3 days later, Eisenhower will receive another message, and when he reads it, he'll say 5 words that define Patton's entire military career. This is that story. Section 1. The Breakout, July 25th to 31 Stone, 1944. Normandy. Operation Cobra, the massive bombing campaign, followed by armored assault, smashes a hole in German lines. American forces pour through. First, Army advances. Then Third Army, newly activated under Patton, surges forward. Patton doesn't consolidate, doesn't pause to organize supply lines, doesn't wait for flanking units to catch up. He attacks immediately with everything. Keep moving. He orders his division commanders. Don't stop for anything. If you run out of fuel, siphon it from captured German vehicles. If you run out of ammunition, use captured German ammunition. Just keep moving. His tank commanders are stunned by the pace. They advance 20 m the first day, 30 meters the second day, 40 the third day. German forces already reeling from the breakthrough can't respond. By the time they identify where Third Army is, Patton has already moved past that position. Where is Patton becomes the most urgent question in German headquarters. They don't know because Patton is moving too fast to track. Section 2. The flight race to Avranches, July 31st, 1944. Avranches, a critical town controlling access to Brittany. German forces are attempting to establish a defensive line. If they can hold Avranches, they can bottle up the American advance. Patton doesn't give them time. Third Army tanks reach Avranches before German reinforcements arrive. The town falls within hours. Brittany's open. Patton tells his staff, "We're going through." "Sir, shouldn't we consolidate? Bring up supplies," and aide asks. "No," Patton snaps. "We consolidate, and the Germans get time to organize. We go now while they're still confused." His 4th Armored Division races into Brittany. The 6th Armored Division follows. Infantry divisions pour through the gap. Within 48 hours, 3 entire divisions are racing across Brittany, advancing so fast that supply trucks can't keep up. Back at Chaff, officers stare at the map in disbelief. This can't be accurate. A British officer says, "These position markers must be wrong. Third Army can't possibly be this far forward already. I've confirmed it 3 times. The intelligence officer replies, "Patton is exactly where the map shows, and he's still moving." Section 3. The fuel crisis. August 3rd, 1944. 3rd Army Headquarters. Patton's quartermaster appears looking worried. "Sir, we have a problem." "What fuel?" "We're running out. The supply trucks can't keep up with the advance. At current consumption rates, we'll be out of fuel in 36 hours. Patton doesn't hesitate. "Then we make fuel last 36 hours. After that, we captured German fuel depots and used their fuel." "Sir, that's creative logistics." Patton interrupts. "The Germans have fuel. We'll take it from them. In the meantime, reduce fuel allocations to non-combat vehicles. Every gallon goes to tanks and fighting vehicles. Everything else walks." "Sir, headquarters staff can't walk. Then they can damn well learn." Patton barks. "This army is going to keep moving even if I have to push the tanks myself." He issues orders. Captured German vehicles will be used for supply transport. Fuel will be salvaged from destroyed German equipment. Non-essential vehicles will be abandoned. It's logistics by improvisation. It shouldn't work, but it does. Section 4. August 4th, 1944. The message. August 4th, 1944. SHAF Headquarters. An urgent message arrives from 3rd Army. 4th Armored Division has secured Rennes. 6th Armored Division approaching Brest. Infantry divisions controlling all major roads in eastern Brittany. Request. Further orders. An officer marks the positions on the map. Eisenhower walks over, coffee cup in hand. He glances at the map, then freezes. "When was this message sent?" 10 minutes ago, sir." Eisenhower stares at the map. Patton's forces are over 100 miles from where they started. "In 4 days. That's impossible," he says, quietly. "Sir, we've confirmed the positions. 3rd Army is exactly where they report." Eisenhower sets down his coffee cup. He leans over the map, tracing the route 3rd Army took. "Good God," he says, "he's already there." Bradley, standing nearby, looks at the map and shakes his head in disbelief. "We expected this to take 2 weeks. Minimum. He did it in 4 days. How?" Eisenhower asks, "How did he move that fast?" Nobody has an answer. Later that day, Eisenhower sends a message to Patton. "Congratulations on reaching objectives ahead of schedule. Remarkable achievement. However, you are now critically low on fuel. Recommend consolidating positions until supply lines catch up." Patton's response arrives an hour later. Acknowledge fuel shortage. However, German positions in Loria and St. Nazaire still unoccupied. Intend to secure before Germans reinforce. We'll worry about fuel later. Eisenhower reads the message and laughs. A tired, incredulous laugh. He's out of fuel, and he wants to keep attacking. Should we order him to stop? Bradley asks. Eisenhower considers this. By every rule of military logistics, he should order Patton to halt, consolidate, and wait for supplies. But Patton is winning faster than anyone thought possible. No, Eisenhower says finally let him keep going. But make sure every available fuel truck is directed to Third Army. Whatever Patton needs, he gets priority. Section 5. The German Reaction. August 5th, 1944. German 7th Army Headquarters. General Paul Hauer stares at intelligence, reports with growing alarm. Patton's Third Army has advanced over 100 miles in 4 days. Yes, her general. That's not possible. No army can move that fast. The intelligence must be wrong. We've confirmed it through multiple sources. The intelligence officer insists American forces are in Rennes approaching Brest-controlling Brittany. It's Patton. It has the Hauer sits heavily. If he's in Brittany, our entire western flank is exposed. He could pivot east and be behind our lines within days. What are your orders? Hauer has no good options. He doesn't have enough forces to defend everywhere. Patton is moving too fast. Fall back, he says finally. Establish defensive positions further east. We can't stop Patton's advance. We can only try to contain it. It's a tacit admission. Germany has lost the initiative. They're no longer attacking. They're reacting. And reacting to Patton means always being one step behind. Section 6, August 6th to 10th. The pivot having secured most of Brittany. Patton does something the Germans don't expect. He pivots. Instead of continuing west to secure the peninsula's ports, he turns his entire army 90 degrees from west to east and starts driving toward Paris. Sir, his staff protests. We haven't secured Brest or Lorient. Those are major ports. Ports don't matter if we end the war. Patton interrupts. Paris matters. Germany matters. We're going east. In less than 48 hours, Third Army, all 4 corps, over 200,000 men, changes direction and surges eastward. The maneuver is logistically insane. Turning an entire army 90 degrees while it's already in motion should cause chaos, traffic jams, supply failures. Patton's staff makes it work through sheer determination and improvisation. By August 10th, Third Army is racing toward Le Mans, then toward the Sonore, then toward the German border. How far can we go? Patton asks his logistics officer. Sir, we're already beyond sustainable supply range. I didn't ask if it's sustainable. I asked how far we can go. The officer hesitates. If we strip non-essentials, if we capture German supplies, if every single fuel truck runs non-stop, maybe to the German border, maybe. Then that's where we're going, Patton says. Section 7. Eisenhower's Dilemma. August 12, 1944. Schaff, Headquarters. Eisenhower faces a command crisis. Patton's Third Army is advancing so fast that it's threatening to outrun the entire Allied strategy. He's almost the same, Bradley reports. If he crosses, he'll be 75 miles ahead of everyone else. His flanks will be completely exposed. What does Patton say? Eisenhower asks. He says, a good offense is better than a perfect defense. He wants to keep going. British Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, listening via phone, is furious. This is madness. Patton is violating every principle of organized warfare. His supply lines are stretched to breaking. One German counterattack and Third Army could be cut off and destroyed. Monty has a point. Bradley admits Patton's taking enormous risks. Eisenhower stares at the map. Patton is represented by a series of arrows, all pointing east, advancing faster than the map makers. It can update. George Eisenhower says into the phone to Patton, "You're 60 mi ahead of schedule. You're outrunning your supplies. You're exposed on both flanks. Every rule of warfare says you should stop, consolidate, and wait for the rest of the army to catch up." "I know, sir," Patton replies, "so why shouldn't I order you to halt?" "Because the Germans are broken, sir. Shattered. If we give them time to recover, they'll rebuild their defenses, and we'll be fighting for every mile. But if we keep pushing now while they're in chaos, we can be in Germany before they recover. We can end this war months earlier." "At what cost, Eisenhower challenges. If you overextend and get cut off, you could lose your entire army. Risk is part of war, sir. The question is whether we're willing to accept tactical risk for strategic gain. Eisenhower closes his eyes. Patton is right. The opportunity exists, but so does the danger. George, I'm not ordering you to stop, but I'm also not giving you unlimited freedom. You can advance as far as fuel allows. But the moment you can't sustain your position, you halt. Understood. Understood, sir. After hanging up, Bradley asks, did you just give Patton permission to advance as far as he wants? No. Eisenhower says, I gave him permission to advance until he runs out of fuel, which, according to logistics, should happen in about 3 days, and then we'll see if Patton can work. Another miracle. Section 8. The Seine Crossing, August 19th, 1944. The Seine River, Third Army reaches the Seine weeks ahead of schedule. German forces are attempting to establish defenses on the far bank. Patton doesn't give him time. His engineers improvise crossings. His tanks ford at shallow points. His infantry uses captured German boats. Within 36 hours, major elements of Third Army are across the Seine. Impossible, a German commander mutters when he receives the report. Patton can't be across the Seine already. We just confirmed he was 50 miles away. That was yesterday, his aide says. The commander stares. He moved 50 miles in one day, apparently at chaff. When Eisenhower receives confirmation that Third Army has crossed the Seine, he calls his staff together. Gentlemen, Third Army has crossed the Seine on August 19th. Our original timeline predicted they'd reached the Seine by mid-September. Patton is 4 weeks ahead of schedule. The room is silent for weeks. Eisenhower repeats. That means we're 4 weeks closer to ending this war. That means thousands of lives saved, cities not destroyed, months of suffering avoided. He looks at the map, at the arrows representing Third Army now pointing toward Germany. I didn't think it was possible, he admits. But George proved me wrong. Section 9, running on fumes. August 25th, 1944. Third Army grinding to a halt, not from German resistance, but from lack of fuel. Patton's worst fear is realized. His tanks are literally running out of gas. Entire divisions stop advancing simply because there's no fuel. Sir, we're completely out, his quartermaster reports. No fuel reserves. Nothing. We're stationary until supply trucks arrive. Patton is furious, not at his staff, but at the situation. How long? Maybe 3 days, maybe a week. Depends on allocation priorities. A week, Patton explodes. In a week, the Germans will rebuild their defenses. We could be here in Germany right now if we had fuel. He immediately calls Eisenhower. Sir, I need fuel. Every gallon you can spare. Third Army is sitting on the German border. And we can't move. I know, George, but fuel is limited. Montgomery is sitting still. Patton shouts, I'm 60 miles from the Rhine. Give me the fuel meant Vermonti and I can be across in 3 days. This war in 1944, before winter, before the Germans regroup. But only if we move now. The argument continues for 10 minutes. Finally, Eisenhower makes a decision that will be debated by historians for decades. I'm giving priority to Montgomery's operation. I'm sorry, George, but that's my decision. Patton hangs up. He sits in silence for a long moment. Then he turns to his staff. Scourge every gallon of fuel you could find. Capture German supplies, abandoned vehicles, anything. We're not stopping. Not when we're this close. Section 10. The Forced Halt. September 1944. Third Army sits stationary, burning with frustration. Patton soldiers can literally see German positions in the distance. They're tantalizingly close to the Reich itself, but without fuel, they can't move. It's like standing at the finish line and not being allowed to cross. One officer complains. Patton visits his forward units trying to keep morale up. We'll get fuel, he promises. And when we do, we're going all the way to Berlin. But privately, he's devastated. He writes in his diary, we could have ended this war by Christmas. We had the Germans on the run. All we needed was fuel. But instead, we stopped, and now they'll have time to rebuild. This delay will cost thousands of lives. History will debate whether Patton was right, whether giving him fuel priority would have ended the war earlier, whether the risks were acceptable. But one thing is certain. In August 1944, Patton moved 3rd Army 100 miles in 48 hours, crossed France in 3 weeks, and reached the German border months ahead of schedule. And when Eisenhower saw how far Patton had gone, he said 5 words that captured both admiration and disbelief. Good God, he's already there. Section 11. The historical verdict after the war. Military historians analyze Patton's August advance. The numbers are staggering. Distance covered: over 600 meters in 30 days. Enemy prisoners taken: over 100,000. Towns and cities liberated: hundreds. German divisions disrupted or destroyed: dozens. Allied casualties remarkably low due to speed of advance. Patton's advance across France represents one of the fastest sustained military advances in history. One analysis concludes he moved faster than Hannibal, faster than Napoleon, faster than anyone in the modern era. Another historian notes the Germans couldn't defend against Patton because they couldn't predict where he'd be. By the time they identified his position and tried to respond, he'd already moved somewhere else. A third observes Patton understood something fundamental. In mobile warfare, speed is its own form of protection. A slow-moving army is vulnerable to counterattack, but a fast-moving army gets behind enemy lines before the enemy can react. German generals interviewed after the war confirmed this. Patton was our nightmare. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt admits we could handle Montgomery. He was predictable, methodical, but Patton, he appeared where he shouldn't be, moved faster than should be possible, attacked when we expected him to defend. Fighting him was like fighting a ghost. Closing August 4th, 1944, Eisenhower stands over a map, staring at position markers that shouldn't be where they are. Good God, and he says quietly, he's already there. 5 words that sum up Patton's entire career. The general who was always ahead of schedule, ahead of expectations, ahead of what anyone thought possible. The man who moved 100 miles in 48 hours, who crossed France in 3 weeks, who reached the German border while other armies were still fighting in Normandy. How did it do it? People ask then. People ask now. The answer is complicated. Aggressive leadership, brilliant tactics, improvised logistics, sheer audacity, and a willingness to take risks that made conventional commanders uncomfortable. But maybe the simplest answer is this: Patton refused to accept that impossible meant impossible. When told an advance couldn't be done that fast, he did it anyway. When told supply lines couldn't support such a rapid advance, he found a way. When told to slow down and consolidate, he sped up instead. Good God. There wasn't just surprise. It was admiration, frustration, disbelief. It was Eisenhower recognizing that Patton had done something no military planner thought possible. And he'd done it so fast that even his own commanders couldn't keep up. In August 1944, while other armies measured progress in miles per day, Patton measured progress in miles per hour. And he proved that in war, speed isn't just an advantage. Sometimes it's everything. Good God, he's already there. The 5 words that defined Patton, the general who was always somewhere he shouldn't be, doing something he wasn't supposed to be able to do.